Call to order the February 5th Public Safety Committee meeting. Would you rise for the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we have roll call. Holmes is here. Shaver?
Yes.
Arndt? Christensen? Haskell?
Yes.
I can't even hear him, I'm sorry. I'm here.
Peak?
Here.
Toomey?
Here.
Okay. Are there any addition to the agendas? Any changes?
Yes, item 7, Sheriff's Office update. We added an update on the police services contract. And then under miscellaneous, we added a grant application.
Move the agenda as amended.
Moved and supported. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, number 5, approval of minutes from January 15th. Support. Any second?
Support.
Oh, I didn't hear.
That was already supported, I'm sorry.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. We now have limited public comment. If you'd like to come to the podium and make any comments. I don't see any. Moving along, we have the Sheriff's Department report.
On behalf of Sheriff Reich, I will share with you some highlights from January 2026. On January 1st, we had a stolen vehicle recovery. A resident on West Mount Hope Road called about a suspicious vehicle in his driveway. Our deputies determined this vehicle was stolen from Lansing Township and observed a male who was passed out in the driver's seat. This male was Lansing Township PD's suspect in the original stolen vehicle report. They came over and interviewed him and arrested him and lodged him at the Ingham County Jail. On January 3rd, we had a sex offenses arrest. A male adult suspect attempted to meet a 15-year-old at a local hotel for immoral criminal purposes. He was lodged on a few different criminal charges from that case. On January 8th, we had a report of gunshots being fired. At 4:45 a.m., a person called 911 saying they were traveling east on Willow at Edmond Way, and a red car was following behind and shooting at her. Dispatch could hear the shots fired in the background of the call. The caller was uncooperative and would not give any other details. Our deputies checked the area and did not locate anything. No other calls came in on this incident. On January 9th, we had a defrauding an innkeeper at the Tangy Crab Restaurant in Delta. 4 females had a pretty large restaurant bill, and then they fled the restaurant without paying for it. Our deputies were able to locate them and stop them in a vehicle. During the investigation, deputies also located over $5,000 of stolen property in their vehicle. So it wasn't enough to just do that. I guess they were stealing dinner too. On January 11th, we had an assist with Lansing Township Police Department. Lansing Township had responded to a call of a male approaching a house with a gun and had loaded it on the person's porch. Our deputies responded, and our canine tracked the suspect to a house, but it appeared he then continued past it. Our deputies flew our aerial drone in the area and located the suspect. He was arrested and turned over to Lansing Township PD. I should say he was secured. I'm not sure what Lansing Township PD ended up doing with him. On January 17th, the Delta Retirement Center reported that they had a resident missing from the center. They reported that at about 6:42 a.m. The resident was last seen sometime during the night. When our deputies got there, they located the resident outside in the snow. He was transported to the hospital by Delta EMS, but unfortunately, he passed away at the hospital. The temperatures that morning were extremely cold. On January 21st, the Grand Ledge Police Department got a call about some individuals going through cars and likely committing thefts. Deputies set up surveillance on Saginaw, anticipating the suspects could be heading into Delta Township. The deputies were correct and located the vehicle on Saginaw a short time later and stopped the car. One of the suspects admitted to the allegations, and the suspects were all turned over to the Grand Ledge Police Department. On January 24th, we had a fleeing and eluding police at Canal and 496. A deputy stopped a car at Canal and I-496 and made contact with the driver. The driver appeared to be intoxicated and then subsequently fled the stop in his vehicle. The passenger in the vehicle at the time appeared like she wanted to get out. The suspect in the pursuit intentionally struck two of our sheriff's office patrol cars, causing minor damage. Eventually, the suspect pulled over and the passenger was able to escape the vehicle. The driver, however, then fled again in the vehicle and our deputies terminated the pursuit. Later that day, the Lansing police officers located the suspect vehicle and it was occupied. The suspect was secured and we were able to interview him and arrest him and lodge him in our jail. Also on the 24th, there was a personal injury vehicle crash at West Willow and North Kreitz. Deputies were dispatched for an injury crash and there was an unresponsive elderly male in one of the vehicles. Upon arrival, it was apparent his injuries were not from the crash, and it appeared the male had suffered a medical issue while driving. The first deputy on scene pulled the victim from the vehicle and began administering CPR until Delta EMS arrived and transported the victim to the hospital. On January 29th, deputies stopped a vehicle for a traffic violation. The driver was intoxicated and deputies discovered he had 58 grams of methamphetamine on him. That's a very sizable amount of methamphetamine. He was arrested and lodged for operating while intoxicated and possession with intent to deliver controlled substances. On January 30, we had a sex offense case, another one. An adult male attempted to meet a 15-year-old at a local hotel to have sexual relations. The male ran from deputies when we attempted to secure him. He was caught and he was arrested, and he was lodged on several criminal charges. On January 31st at the Comfort Inn, same type of situation. An adult male attempted to meet a 14-year-old at a local hotel to have sexual relations. The suspect was arrested and lodged on several criminal charges. In the month of January, we had about 6 or 7 other assists with Lansing Township, which is bordering Delta Township, on various complaints such as suicidal persons, domestic situations. One was a strong-armed robbery. So sometimes those assists keep us busy, but then we get assistance from agencies that border us as well. And we also assisted Clinton County on a couple of complaints. One was a person having a psychiatric breakdown, and another was assisting with traffic control while they were transporting a juvenile patient who had life-threatening injuries. We were able to shut down main flows of traffic so that they could have a better egress to get the person to the hospital. Is there any questions that you have regarding this information? Or anything else?
Questions? Any questions for the sheriff besides on anything?
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Hanson.
Yes, I had some questions for the sheriff, and I'm not sure if you might be able to answer some of them. I was at the Calamo Township meeting on Monday night, and they had quite a few questions that I could not answer concerning Delta Township and various sheriff things.
Well, if you'd like to get with me, I can relay them to him, or I can try to answer them now, or I can get them from you and have him get in touch with you.
Okay, I'll do that. afterwards. Yes, if you, thank you.
Sure.
All right. Any other comments? Thank you, Sheriff. Looks like. Our next report is from Central Dispatch.
Sorry, we did amend for
Oh,
police services
sorry.
contract updates, no problem. So just wanted to let this committee know, the Windsor Township Police Services Agreement has moved forward. It currently sits at the Board of Commissioners full board level for approval. We were pending word back from Windsor's board that they had adopted it as moved by this committee. It has been adopted, so that item should be an action item at the end of this month. Additionally, we've been working to kind of develop a framework idea of how communities could come together to fund potential police service for their districts or their area, teaming up with other municipalities. We've been working with Commissioner Shaver on that. So part of the update on that is just showing how this model could work with a variety of other communities teaming up to maybe do 1 or 2 deputies. I believe Commissioner Shaver might have a question, or at this point, got the information together. The question and request from us would be that this committee ask staff to take the time and invest the time to actually go out and potentially meet with communities that may be interested and share those figures and see if there's enough support and desire to add additional contractual services. But we didn't want to invest more time in it apart from direction from this body.
So do we need a motion for that kind of outreach into the communities that would be interested?
Yeah, I would appreciate that. Also, that way, when we meet with the communities, they know that it's an action of the board. So absolutely, a motion would be.
Sure. So moved.
Support.
A motion and support. All in favor?
We have discussion.
Oh, sorry, discussion.
Oh, you go ahead, you start.
Commissioner Toomey?
I just had a quick question, just clarifying the motion. We are proactively reaching out to different communities to see if they want to join up with other communities and then contract with us. I guess, is it better for us to do that, or is it more appropriate for those communities to decide if they want that service? Like, I guess, what's our role in facilitating this? Is it not on the community to decide that they want that service and that they'd like to contract with us?
Yeah, it's a great question, and honestly, I think it's probably a little column A, column B. Our role is simply being, this is the cost for the service. If it was to be shared with 1, 2, 3 parties, this is what it looks like. If we were going to do a multi-community agreement, at some point you have to pick a lane, and so what we've been looking at is population. Like, so if you have 5 communities together, break the cost up by population in a flat rate. So everybody's paying a set number of overhead, and then you split the remaining cost by population. So really, that's the role that we play, and this is in consultation with the sheriff as well, because obviously, whether we do contractual agreement rests with his office, but the role staff will play is just showing the framework of what we think is doable, and then if there's enough communities of interest that we can bring something back for consideration, we would.
Just explain that the communities that have come forward, we can't do anything unless we know of everyone.
Yeah, and that's a good point. So like, you may have one community that's like, I can do X number of dollars, committed to the idea of having a police services contract. We can't fund, a 25% FTE within the sheriff's department. And so when we have one group get locked in, then you can go out and see, is there anybody else that wants to help get us to a full-time FTE that makes sense, right? Yeah.
Okay, so it would be the job of the staff here basically developing that framework and that table to say, all right, you got X population or X number of municipalities, here's the cost breakdown, but we're not gonna get into the nitty-gritty of everything until a community expresses like actual interest in pursuing something further. This is more like generalizations.
Yeah, and there are communities in District 1 that are interested, so that's the impetus for this getting going. But if you have folks, as you're going to your local communities and townships and villages that have an interest, I mean, you can let them know at least that this is an option available, and we can check the viability of it.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Did I see? Okay, Commissioner Haskell.
Yeah, much like Commissioner Toomey's question or comments, I think it makes sense for the communities to reach out. I mean, if we're starting with a communication saying we're here and we're available and waiting to hear from you, then that's fine. But I think if we're out there fishing and you guys are spending a lot of time doing that, that kind of defeats the purpose as well, so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, I agree, and we don't have the staff capacity to do that, so I really do appreciate that. No, here's the framework, we know what Windsor's contract looks like, we know what Delta's contract looks like. Is there a model where 4 or 5 groups can join parties to get one deputy? And the answer is yes, this is what it looks like if you want to learn more, but we won't have a road tour. Yeah. Nicole's too.
Nicole Christensen, I see. Commissioner Christensen.
I just had a quick question, maybe I missed it. Is this just District 1, or are there other districts that are involved as well?
I maybe defer to Commissioner Shaver because he's been interacting directly with the locals on it. The model that we were putting together is potential of like Oneida through Calamo and the 4 in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just was curious on clarification for that, so thank you.
Yeah, and then there becomes a point too where there's geographic concerns. So obviously the sheriff would be like, I'm not going to probably put a deputy in a position that they have to be, one side of the county to the polar opposite side of the county. So those are considerations as we look at it. But I think if there are communities on one half that are interested and on the other half, that's where you kind of explore, can you guys work together? What's your ultimate goal? And do you have enough that you want to explore that?
Anybody else comment? Commissioner Shaver.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this is just in preface, maybe a little bit. I think it's really important that communities consider this because, as I've mentioned frequently, I don't necessarily think that the votes that were taken on the last 2 millages that I wasn't here for as a commissioner were necessarily, we don't want Sheriff's Department coverage. People had lots of different reasons why they made the decisions that they did. I think this is a great opportunity. We have a good Sheriff's Department. We've got great deputies. To be able to build on that, a service for people in our rural communities. And I appreciate the opportunity, based on this committee to be able to offer that to the municipalities. My district has 7 municipalities in it that have 0 police options for coverage. And so this could be very meaningful to them. It's obviously up to the leaders of those communities and their elected officials to be able to do that. But I think in a very, to your gentleman's point, but in a very limited way, saying, yes, there's a structure for this, and this is what that could look like, could be very meaningful, not just to those 7 municipalities, but also the other areas of the county that might want to be a part of that. And so, yeah, it could, in my opinion, from listening to the controller's office and the sheriff, it could include other areas outside of District 1. But just like we had to start somewhere with contracts and it was started with Delta Township, I think we've got to also start somewhere to meet the rest of the needs. And so I'm very thankful for the opportunity to be able to even consider providing something like this within the parameters that have already been set for the rest of the county. So Ben, thank you specifically for your work on that.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Commissioner Arndt.
The framework that we're laying out where municipalities can split the cost and split the hours is something that probably will work for Oneida Township, because as it was trying to, we didn't have it in the municipal budget to do a 40-hour full-time deputy. That just, if that was something that was necessary to begin with, we would have done it years ago.
And when we met with Supervisor Jones, that was one of the commitments that we made was, we know you're interested, and if we can find enough community support elsewhere, we would continue down that path. So hopefully he and your constituents know that this is kind of part of that is, if you can get enough people together with a common interest and the means, then it'd be a great way to fulfill it if we can, so.
Any other comments, questions? Under Sheriff,
I just, real quickly, just want, on behalf of the sheriff, I just want to thank everyone that's involved in the efforts that you're making for this. I think it's much appreciated. I know the sheriff and I both appreciate it, and the entire sheriff's office does, so thank you very much.
Commissioner Shaver.
I just think I think it's important to note, just because communication is paramount for everything that we do, and this is being done well, but none of the, like, there has been expressed interest in this, but none of these municipalities within possibility have been, there hasn't been any discussion with them other than some expressed interest. And so because there was expressed interest, now we have this opportunity to say, okay, this is what it could look like if enough of you cooperated together. And I'm just thankful for the resident nature of the communication up until this point. So there hasn't been any really possibility cast other than this reality that will be given. So I just wanted, there's people that are going to watch this, and some of them I represent, some of them others. Nobody knows anything more than anybody else does, because really Ben holds all of that information, and looking forward to having a meeting, with people that are interested. So again, thank you.
Is that it? Any comments? We all understand the motion that started this. For the county to provide the information to interested groups or parties. Okay? Oh, one more question, and Commissioner Hanson.
Yes. How big of an area can one deputy actually cover? Can he cover 4 to 6 townships fairly easy in a day or in a shift?
Yeah, so, and that's where you get into the managerial discussions, and the sheriff would make that determination. And you might have, so one community might be like, we'd like 4 hours a day, or, a specific benchmark of time. So those contracts will be kind of specific depending on who the parties are in that. But originally, when we had full road patrol, a lot of our shifts would be 2 and a sergeant, so you'd have that where they're moving throughout all quadrants of the county. So I think the sheriff has established that at least 1 for a shift, with the mutual aid backup provisions that exist in the other contracts, are something that he thinks is supportive.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Last call. All in favor of the motion? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Now we have
Can I say one more
Central
thing?
Dispatch Report.
Can I say one thing? No, I'm still in charge, so no. No. So, yeah, I just wanted to know, let's remember that we do not have staffing to do this yet, so that would be coming next, to make sure that we could start bringing the staff in order to support the contracts, so that's crucial. The other thing that's really exciting yesterday, we received a personnel change form to add a deputy who had left, who was working the Windsor contract. I cannot guarantee that that deputy will be reassigned to Windsor, but that's pretty exciting for us that he came back, so that's a good thing. And then we do have a meeting not scheduled, but soon to be scheduled with Waverly for their SRO discussion.
Thank you. Kelly, how about Central Dispatch Report? Thank you.
County 911 Director Kelly Flynn. Just a few quick highlights from January. Overall staffing remains in a good position. We currently have 1 telecommunicator vacancy, no supervisor vacancies, and an active candidate moving through the hiring process, and 3 on our hiring list. We continue to invest in training and professional development, including leadership level training and specialized alerting education, to ensure our staff remains current and well prepared. Several major technology projects are moving forward, including CAD-to-CAD integration and radio encryption, all focused on improving efficiency and multi-county interoperability. Our staff remains engaged beyond the center through training, community outreach, which continues to be an important part of our mission. Francis did teach the Fire Academy radio class, and I was at the board meeting, so I stopped down there, and he was doing a great job. They all had lots of questions, and their favorite part is hitting the, we call it the dispatcher appreciation button. It's the emergency button that makes all of our radios upstairs go crazy, so. And then lastly, the no preference record policy and procedure, I did not get that back yet. So my hopes is to have an answer on that by next month. I did take all the prices that the local entities gave me, and I did it more in like a low, high, recommend, like in the middle type thing, because it was hard. They were all very different, but within a reasonable range that you could charge. So I was looking for legal before I brought it here and got their blessing first. So any questions on my monthly report?
Questions, Commissioner Haskell?
No question, but I just wanted to compliment the participation in the Mid-Michigan Autism Association Safety Day. That's very cool.
Yeah, it was very cool.
And Commissioner Shaver?
Yes, Director Flynn, thank you for the report. It was enjoyable to read through it. It's pretty cool to see that you guys don't have really any vacancies. I know that there's one, but that's a huge testament of your guys' department. There's a lot of first responders in the state, first response departments that are lacking in staffing. Most people probably don't understand that, but I do. Yeah, thank you for the work that you're doing. And my son's in that fire class, and so I heard lots of good things about your guys' time that evening. Something that has come to my mind on, I'm aware, and I think probably most of this committee is at some level, the rave panic that's used within the school systems. And it's from my standpoint, it's a really cool life-saving feature that allows a phone app to communicate from these locales, and there's lots of other things to it too that that you could describe better. But as one of my jobs as a pastor and leading a congregation in the county here, I get more and more concerned about safety in our houses of worship, and I think that's warranted because across the United States, and even here in Michigan, there are incidences that have increased quite a bit. I just wanted to, propose the thought in front of the committee here that maybe there's an option that churches could pay to play in a way with something of that sort that would allow in some of these scenarios that I don't like to think about or process, but as somebody that is a first responder, I have to be prepared for in my mind that it could provide the best response maybe for them in those scenarios. Is that something that could be considered?
It is something I could look into. So I would have to get information from Rave and see what our options would be. But also, I guess one thing that we do have to consider, we kind of inherited the schools because it was originally a grant that we obtained. And then once that grant ran out, it was something they wanted to continue. So we manage the contract and bill them, so we do all the administration stuff for it. So I'm not sure what that would look like on a countywide level for churches, and I don't know, I mean, so when I add more things like that, the controller's office also gets more work. So that's just something that we would need to consider, but it is something, if I had, direction from this board, I could look into.
Yeah, so almost, and what would be helpful for us is like a noble request. If the committee is interested in staff dedicating the time to put something like this together, if you all so move, what we could try to do is like a 1 to 2 page brief and maybe provide that next month so you kind of get a sense of the scope and what administrative concerns are just in staffing. Like I know managing user profiles in the systems can be something we'd have to talk about, but if you all would like to see kind of an executive summary of what that looks like, let us know and we'll work the next month putting it together.
I would make that motion.
I'm hearing that, Kelly, you need to look into it before staff does anything as far as time-wise.
On this
Or
sense,
coordinate.
we're staffed together. You know.
Oh,
We would work together on that.
So by, say, next month, you'd have some kind of,
Let's
Okay.
remember, February is a short month.
And to be, you know, I guess within the context of my motion, I'm not.
We could do April, or,
Yeah.
you know, we could just give an update if it's not ready by March. Yeah, I think that's really good for setting expectations.
Absolutely.
The idea being if prioritizing staff's time, so that way, you know, if we've got 5 topics on the burner, you all know what we're working on. Yep. Connie's like, oh, God.
I'll call you still.
so
I'm good.
there was no motion then, right? There was. Well, there was a motion
In a second, yeah.
and second. What is the motion exactly?
Motion was to allow or ask the administration to just very briefly explore if there were any options for houses of worship to be able to opt in any way at their cost to the rave panic system that schools use in Eaton County.
Okay, yeah.
Is that a fair motion, Ben?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And then if there's concern, like, we'll just lay it out like an executive summary. Like, yep.
Commissioner Haskell.
So I guess my only question I have after this is, I like the motion, I like the idea. If we open it up to houses of worship, are we also going to have to open it up to private businesses and other entities? And I agree, and I want it. I just don't know what it means when we open it up for one, if it really has to go for others.
It could. You would get potentially the same request as this.
Okay, so I guess in the fact finding that goes out, by the way, I fully understanding that even with this open item with the tow trucks and whatever else, that takes time as well. So I think next month is too much to ask, so take your time. But yeah, but I think that would be something that would be important for the committee to understand is when you open it up for one category, what else are we opening it up to?
Is that clear enough for all of us? Okay. All in favor of the motion? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Do you have comments on B?
Yes, it's the surcharge, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I did, usually you just get my numbers, but, so I bring this every year, to the February meeting. And, I did want to leave, because I know there's some new members that may not know exactly what the surcharge is. So, you know, a brief outline of the history, the background, what we use it for. So the 911 phone surcharge is restricted funding source dedicated solely to the county's radio system infrastructure, maintenance, and long-term capital needs. The current surcharge level is $1.65, and may remain in place without formal board action. However, any changes to the surcharge would require adoption of a formal resolution by the Board of Commissioners. A decision is not necessarily required today, but direction would need to be provided to me no later than the April board meeting.
Anybody have comments, questions about, Commissioner Shaver?
So, I'm just reading through this quickly, but it's $1.65. It used to be $1.75. And
Yes.
you're asking for a change or you're asking for no change?
My recommendation is just keeping it
Okay.
as is right now. So when it was originally voted on, it was $1.75, and it was performing pretty well. It was pre-COVID, and we changed it to $1.65, but since then, radio costs have skyrocketed. So staying at $1.65 is my recommendation at this moment. Our debt schedule is scheduled to be fully satisfied by fiscal year 27-28, and that's when we can really take a good look and see what that surcharge would be suitable to buy future new radios, upgrades, and maintain the system and all that stuff.
Questions? Commissioner, all right, you have a question?
Does the board need to take any action to keep the surcharge at the price that it is?
Nope.
Commissioner Haskell?
I agree that I think keeping it $1.65 makes the most sense, especially when we're talking pending contracts, maybe not contracts, SROs, maybe not SROs. It really makes sense to keep the fund flexible for whatever our future needs are.
Thank you. No questions on that one, Kelly?
No, I guess if you want to make a decision today and just keep it the same, a motion would be helpful, just so I have a clear direction. If not, we can wait.
Motion.
There's a motion and support to keep this at $1.65. Any more questions? You have no question? We do. Commissioner Toomey?
Yeah, I'm just, why the motion?
Just
I
to
guess,
provide direction.
so I have direction.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
That it ended here, basically, today,
Yes.
so that she's not considering it in May.
Whatever makes everybody happy.
Gotta make Kelly happy.
So you don't change your mind next month? I don't know.
Comments, questions? All in favor of that motion? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Are you done, Kelly?
I have my annual report. I'll be super quick.
Well, no, I was just going to ask you, as part of that, can you just discuss the millage and where you're at with that as part of your report, the actual 911 millage?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
All right. Sorry, my annual report is 38 pages long, but this report is more than a snapshot of call volume. We intentionally use it to show the communities we serve that Eaton County 911 is not only answering emergency calls and dispatching the appropriate resources, but is also actively engaged in our communities through education, outreach, and preparedness efforts. That community connection is critical to building trust and improving outcomes before emergencies ever occur. I also use this report to intentionally showcase our staff and the incredible work they do. Recognizing their professionalism, dedication, and compassion supports employee morale and retention. It also plays an important role in the recruitment process, especially at the time when 911 centers across the country are struggling to staff their operations. From an operational standpoint, while our total calls answered decreased slightly, our 911 emergency calls increased, along with law enforcement, fire, and EMS calls. This tells an important story. The calls we are receiving are increasingly higher priority, more complex, and more resource intensive, requiring a highly trained workforce and reliable technology. Also, the report reflects our continued investment in training, technology, and innovation to ensure we are prepared to meet those demands and continue to providing high-quality service to citizens and the responders of Eaton County. So, and Connie wanted me to talk about the millage. So we have the surcharge that pays for the radios for all first responders and the infrastructure. But we also have a 911 millage. We are funded currently on our millage through the end of 2028. And normally, this would be the year that I go and try to do a renewal. So last time, we did a renewal, or renew, restore. So it's just something you need to keep in mind. So if we wait till 2027, we're paying for an election. 2028, if it did fail, then we have to come up with funding for a 911 center. And so I guess the biggest thing is I use this annual report to go to the communities and show them exactly what they receive. And it is, the one thing about Eaton County 911 is that we do serve all the communities in this county. So if this millage failed, it pays for our operations. It also, we pay for all the computers or tablets that are in first responder vehicles, and we pay the connectivity fee for those. So if there was no funding for 911, let's take Charlotte Fire, for example. They would have no one to dispatch them. Other counties have had different ways of coming about this, so you can't just everyone make their own dispatch. Like, there are rules about consolidation, because it makes it difficult when you call 911 and calls are bouncing into different agencies and things can get missed. So if this were to fail, we would have to consider like a fee base for every entity. So you would like pay per call. So if Charlotte Fire had a call, we would have to come up with a formula of like what that call cost for the 911 center to take it. Again, this millage is already in place till the end of 2028, but it's something we need to consider. I know that there is a lot going on with millages, and people, quite frankly, are sick of being taxed, right? This millage is already in place, so it would be a renewal that we're looking for.
So because Kelly's very proactive, she had asked about having this discussion, so it's something in administration that we'll have to discuss and look at and consider, because, again, you would have to pay in 2027 for a countywide millage, and we learned that at the time we did the last one, was about $165,000 to do your own millage. So it's something to consider. The other millage, which is also through this committee, is the juvenile justice millage. So those are two things to consider. So there'll be discussions within administration about whether or not that's something to present in the near future. And I believe the deadline to go in August would be in May. I think that's what the clerk explained. Okay, thanks, Kelly.
I mean, I feel like I brought down the tempo here talking about a millage, but does anyone have any questions about my annual report?
Got all the wheels spinning. Commissioner Christensen.
I don't think you brought the tempo down. I think you kind of maybe struck a little bit of fear, I guess, just because you say 28, and that looks a far way away, but it's really not. I mean, it's very close. So we obviously know how millages in the past have gone. A concern to me is, how soon do you start advocating for something like this? And how soon do you start talking to the general public and enlightening them to what could happen if this was not to pass?
I have already, I bring it up at my fire EMS committees, my law enforcement committees. It has already been brought up there, and stressing the importance of advocating for the renewal.
So just really quick, Educating.
Educating, sorry.
So from a
Right,
public
educating.
standpoint.
Educating,
And
sorry.
it's essentially, I
Scratch
mean,
that, educating.
100%. And it is really about, like how Kelly's laid out, but this is the value that this brings. I believe, Kelly, you had shared a fire chief started here and was like, I didn't understand my budget till I saw what the county paid for. Because initially they were like, how am I supposed to run a fire department? And so
It
maybe,
was,
yeah.
it was the new Grand Ledge Police Chief, when he came in to meet us, I said, hey, this is what dispatch, you know, I laid out everything that we do and what we provide, and he's like, okay, my budget makes more sense now. He's like, I had no idea how I was gonna make this budget. They gave me work and get new technology in the cars and radios and,
And is that something you do with every department within
Yes.
Eaton County? You
Yes.
sit down with each one of them and enlighten them to, educate them to?
So one of my jobs as the director isn't just to enlighten them now because the millage renewal may be coming up. It's to do that all the time. So I am constantly making sure they know everything that we cover and what it could cost them if it's something they, like the townships and the cities would have to take on themselves.
Commissioner Arndt, you have a question?
How often is the 911 millage renewal on the ballot?
Every 5 years.
Thank you.
Commissioner Haskell, you have a question?
I'm going to really bring down the room. So we've got 911, possibly, road, possibly, jail. No jail? What?
Jail will end at the end of 2026. So
2026.
this December. That's done, and it's
No,
not a renewal
no,
or
no need to renew. Okay.
that will be paid.
What, so I've identified those two. What other renewals are we looking at in the near term here?
Did you say E-Tran?
Oh, well, we've already put E-Tran on.
Correct, yeah.
Right.
So you would be looking at E-Tran in November. You'd be looking at possibly road. We know that's coming next week to committee. This one, juvenile justice, in August, if the discussion is had. I mean, obviously, this body has to do that and the rest of the board. But it's just a discussion to start having because, you know, there's a reliance on funding, and this is the model that we're using. So it would be a huge adjustment if the plan is not there.
Right.
Oh, and the medical care facility millage will expire at the end of 2026 as well, this year.
Okay. And that's not up for renewal, right?
No, that was on remodeling that was done there.
Okay. So I guess my point is, these are all fantastic things that I think most people on the board are going to support and want to continue. But can we be strategic so we're not all throwing this onto one, election? Is that something that we need to, send out to?
That's
the
the
different
discussion, yeah,
departments?
that's the discussion that you have to have. But as far as administration, it's something that we have to look at too, because there would be a cost in 2027. You could take it to 2028. If you
there's
take
risk.
it in 2028, that's the last year. So, you know what I mean? You have to look at all of that. So it's just a discussion that the board needs to know. And as we've learned, the public needs to be informed as to what's coming up. So this is the way to do that, and that was Kelly's concern, that we weren't going to do that soon enough if we didn't at least talk about it.
Commissioner Arndt, do you get?
And that's not only a question for admin as to how many county millages are placed on the ballot, but we also have to navigate around the other millages. So we have to ask the clerk how many millages are put on, like say, Glace is putting on a millage for May, I'm told, for a new fire station. I have to double check the numbers on that. But that's something to also be taken into account in terms of what sort of tax burden our constituents are willing to, I don't want to say put up with, but yeah, vote for. The constituents aren't necessarily clear on which government body is putting which millages on there. All they see are tax increases or tax renewals.
Correct.
Commissioner Shaver, you have a question?
Part of it's our job to educate, to use that word. And all of these are important, but just so that people understand, because I don't know if it was said strong enough, although I appreciate what Director Flynn said. If we don't have Eaton County Dispatch funded, we don't have first response to anything, because they are the ones that really, I mean, they don't leave their station there, but I'm on a fire department. My pager doesn't go off, my phone doesn't go off unless somebody is there taking that call. And so there's so much infrastructure in the county that depends on that resource that it's not anything that should even be in the public's mind about, is this something that we need or that we don't need? I understand. I mean, I have a family, pay taxes. I don't like paying taxes. Anybody that knows me knows that well, but these are services that we can't do without. There's certain areas of our county that have a 45-minute or more response time for Michigan State Police sometimes, because we don't have a sheriff's patrol in that area. And it's really hard, I think, for the public to quantify these things sometimes, like, oh, do we need that? Do we not need that? This is an absolute must. And I wouldn't advocate for not funding anything else. That's not what I'm saying. But if you didn't pass a road millage, you would still have a road to drive on. I think it would be terrible to not have that millage passed. But if this millage doesn't pass and it goes back to the townships or the cities or the villages to fund their own dispatch, it's going to cost way more than it is to have this. So I think it's a really important discussion to have whenever it's on the ballot. And I'm sure we'll get a recommendation from the administration on that. But if we're already starting to talk about it, let's talk about how important this one is. And it's not just that it's important to me. I've had to call 911 in my own house for my own child, and I'm glad somebody answered, and I'm glad that there was people to respond. But if you call that and it's getting, routed in some way differently or whatever, seconds matter, and it's not something that we want to mess around as a community. Thank you.
I just want to say, the education piece is just on us, you as elected officials. You go out and do you.
And one of the biggest struggles we have is and that's why we're always doing PR events, is that when you call 911, sometimes people think, oh, I live in the city of Charlotte, so I'm calling Charlotte Police Department direct. Like, they don't understand all the time that we're a central dispatch, and then our customers are the citizens that call 911 and the agencies we serve, and we, send the resources to them. So, that's why we're just always out there trying to educate and, the how to call 911, but also like what we do in their community.
See nothing else? Thank you, Kelly. Next, we have number 9, our Emergency Management Department report.
Good afternoon, everybody. Just a couple things to touch on. Really a meeting-heavy, training-heavy month. I don't want to go through all those individual things as we work through information sharing or, searching for solutions on things. But a couple of things that I was excited about this last month. We did attend the United for Resilience County Response Consortium launch with the United Way of South Central Michigan. So this is a model that they're trying to take from Kalamazoo County and bring it up to support Clinton, Eaton, and Ingham counties, basically to hire a person within United Way South Central Michigan to do a lot of emergency management style work, coordination, pre-disaster, specifically in the nonprofit space. That's one of those legs of the chairs that I always talk about that, we're always trying to work through too, but it actually have a person dedicated day to day to work in that space and work with your nonprofits. I think that's a really, really cool initiative. McLaren Greater Lansing, I believe, donated $50,000 to get this initiative off the ground. There's still some more legwork to do on the funding side of that to really get a person in that seat and then sustain it. But we were excited to kind of be a part of that launch and see kind of what the vision is for the future, as well as how the different emergency management agencies across the Tri-County can help support that and support that person once they get that person in the role. So that was pretty exciting. The other thing, we have a kind of an unwritten agreement with Ingham County on a biannual basis. So we host the G2300 Intermediate Emergency Operations Center Functions course. We host it here one year, host it in Ingham County the next year, then bring it back. This is the third iteration of kind of that unwritten agreement. And had really great participation, 20 participants from different levels of government, even had some private sector individuals come in as they try and kind of shape their space with more like a security operations center. So that was a good 3 days worth of instruction, of discussion, of practical application to and working through different things. So we were excited about that. You see a couple of grant projects that we've already completed just within month one. We got a couple more coming down the pike as well with some local fire departments and getting them some equipment. We got some training coming up that we funded through a grant later about mid-year as well. So we'll continue to update some of those numbers and provide that information to you. Just the 2 projects that we were able to complete this month. We were able to kind of get some competitive funding at the regional level to help fund some different hand tools, battery-powered tools, the like, for Charlotte Fire Department. We got some other projects, again, for fire departments that I think we'll update on next month. And then we were able to grab some funding as well to send a pretty large Eaton County contingent to the North American Active Assailant Conference in June, something that we've been able to do the last few years, and we're able to continue to do that, so that's exciting. Last thing, just to touch on, I talked about this at length back in November during Winter Hazards Awareness Week, but we had like 25 out of 31 days with snow this last month in January. If you're me and you're not a winter person, it felt like 100 out of 31. Just to reiterate some things, I had a lot of drives into work and a lot of drives home too. I mean, cars in the ditch, a lot of slide offs, a lot of calls to 911s, those kind of things. So just my 3 messages again, and I shared these back in November too, but just know before you go, right, we're in Michigan, winter conditions can change rapidly. Get that information, have that access to information from multiple different sources before you take that road trip, especially as my friend Phil over in Pennsylvania has said, we have 6 more weeks to go with this. Stay safe indoors, stay safe outdoors, right? Make sure we're using heating sources appropriately, using space heaters appropriately, not using ovens or things like that to heat our home. You also run the risk of carbon monoxide, and that's certainly kind of that, again, invisible and deadly gas that can affect you. And stay safe outdoors when you're going out to shovel snow or things. Just be prepared that that's physical exertion on your body and what that can do to your body. And then last thing, again, check on those quiet houses. How do we get back to neighbor helping neighbor, right? Checking on our vulnerable populations. Those are things that we should be doing, and just doing our normal practice, right? That's something that I even do at my home. I got a couple elderly neighbors next door to me, and just want to make sure that they're doing all right, and try and even go and shovel their driveway if that's something that I'm able to do with my own time. So just keep that in mind too, neighbor helping neighbor. I think that's something that we really need to get back to all across the nation. So those are just my 3 messages based on kind of what we've seen the last month and what we got going forward for the next 6 to 8 weeks. I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have, though.
I see, Commissioner Shaver got a question.
Director Wilkinson, thank you for all the work that you're doing. And I was excited to walk into the fire department here and see the grant that they received, that we received. I'm on that department. And so thank you for, I know that there's a significant application process for grants sometimes, and it sounds like you took most of the burden of that on. How do the other fire departments, I'm sure it's communicated with them, some of them aren't full-time, but like what's the opt-in on those, just in case there's more departments in the county that want to opt in on those grants?
Yeah, so we get this annual allotment, the Homeland Security Grant Program, every year. We usually restrict that grant to training and Homeland Security Exercise Evaluation Program consistent exercise only, just because the administrative side of things to do equipment has become exponentially greater. Now, during about the December-January timeframe, what we find, because we split this pot of money with 9 different counties in the city of Lansing.
Oh, great.
And it's on a 3-year grant cycle, has to be expended based on the fiscal year that you're operating in by May 31st of the closeout year. By December, January, so 5 to 6 months leading up to grant closeout, sometimes one or multiple of the 9 counties in the city of Lansing maybe doesn't use all of their allotment, right? throw it back in a regional pot, and then competitive bids right amongst the county. So that's when we go to our fire departments, our police departments, and say, hey, now's your shot. We give them some parameters of what we're looking for, and kind of that sweet spot in terms of a dollar amount. And we ask for a little bit of legwork on their end, and then we do about 90% of the rest of the legwork. So that's kind of the period that we're in right now. It gets a little competitive at the regional level. I think it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But if we can snag some of those extra dollars for some of those items that are really hard to budget for at the agency level,
Yeah.
then we'll go for it.
Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other questions for her? Thank you for your report.
Thanks, everybody.
We have next coming up, the prosecutor office report. Is anyone here to share from prosecutor's office? I see him.
Chairman, Commissioners, Chris Anderson from the Prosecutor's Office. January was a pretty typical month. January tends to be a little slower as a rule. We were currently at the end of January, we had 7,204 open cases in the office. That's a slight decrease from the end of the year. 68 cases, so I guess we're making progress still. We took in 273 new cases. We issued or authorized charges in 100 cases and declined in diverted 92 cases. Our attorneys were noticed for 737 hearings across the month of January, and we provided discovery 312 times, over 223 cases. So, and our victim unit was pretty busy with 235 victim engagements. So, all in all, statistically, it was I guess a fairly decent month, maybe a little slow. I thought I'd bring up, a couple months ago, I brought up the fact, I think in a presentation, I talked about the fact that our appellate unit was beginning the process of resentencing juvenile life offense individuals, murderers who were convicted of either 18, 19, or 20 years old, sentenced to life without parole. That process has begun in earnest now. We had our first hearing today relating to one of those cases in Eaton County. We've had a case that's been progressing and being held in Clinton County for a while, but it's a very labor-intensive, time-intensive process, and it's ripping open a lot of Band-Aids. So I think as we go through the process, we'll try to keep people updated. It's going to take some time to get through these resentencings, but it is something that I don't think people realize that we do, and we're having to do now. Thankfully, we only had 6 cases in the county to address. However, that is 6 cases that are essentially recent or having to update, or it's not like prosecuting a homicide, but you have to figure out what that case was, and there's not too many people in the office that were here 25 and 30 years ago. So it's a learning process for the case to begin with. So, and before I take questions, because I have the microphone sitting here, I'd like to take a minute, because I think this is probably the last time that I will have the opportunity to stand at this podium and this microphone and thank Connie. Connie's always had our back in our office. I think we have a good relationship with her, and we appreciate the fact that we can have her ear. I don't think the county realizes, I think this body realizes, I don't think the county as a whole realizes what's leaving. And the amount of institutional knowledge and dedication and work level that Connie puts in. I think that the employees as a whole, well, we might have disagreements about things that come down the old pike about raises and things that she doesn't necessarily control directly. We also appreciate that she had our back throughout this process that was the budget in the last 2 years. And also that for those of us who are not unionized and don't bargain, that she always sought to treat us equally with those that did bargain. I think it's very much appreciated. So with that, Connie, thank you very much, and I wish you nothing but the best in retirement. If anybody has questions, I can answer. Try to.
I don't see any questions. Thank you, Chris.
Sure.
Our next up is number 11 on trial courts. Do we have somebody to speak on that?
Yes, I'd like to have Katie Price. She is the referee, attorney referee for juvenile court and the director. She'll talk about the grant funding.
Hey there, folks. I don't have a lot to say. We've been requesting this grant for a few years now. I think this will be the 7th. When MDHHS petitions the court based on concerns for the health and safety of a child in their home, the court is statutorily and by rule required to appoint attorneys for the children or child and their parents. We pay for a lot of that, and this grant is intended to help alleviate some of that, a portion of that. It's on a reimbursement basis. We ask for $100,000. We actually used more than that last year, but got reimbursed for just the $100,000 that we had asked for, that we're eligible for. I know that there's a request or a requirement that there's a 15% administrative fee included in that. I did ask if that was something that we could do. I think that I put that in there in number 11, that's just not something that they're able to do. They had asked, the administrators of the grant asked to have that included, and that wasn't granted. So it's not something that we can even ask for. Does anyone have any questions?
Move the resolution.
All right.
Commissioner Haskell?
I do have, yes, we're on the discussion now. Yeah. So you said we were refunded the 100,000. How much did?
No.
No.
25% of that,
Oh, okay.
so 25,000.
Oh, okay. So that we didn't get up to the 100,000.
We did.
Okay.
We went over the 100,000.
Oh, okay. That was my question, was going to be how much over 100,000 did?
It was approximately 115,000.
Okay. So is there harm in trying to ask for 115 if we think that's the better ballpark? Or?
I think 100,000 is what we can do. Yeah, and I'm seeing nodding, yes.
Okay, so that's
I did ask that last year, and so, no, I think that's what we can do.
okay. Understood. Thank
But if we could,
Right. Yeah.
and I can, we have a intent survey that they send out to us that I need to fill out in February if this is something that we're gonna do. And they will ask me, how much do you want? And I can say, more than that. And I certainly will.
Sure.
Not that they'll give it to us, but I'll say it.
Any more discussion? No. We have a resolution. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That carries. Thank you. We have item B and C. What is?
On the youth facility physician contract, if you recall, last month you had agreed to the concept of having a physician that has agreed to contract. We sent it to legal counsel. We do not have that contract back, so this will end up coming back here next month to make sure that the terms of the contract are agreeable, and then it would go to Ways and Means for the cost of the contract. Does anyone have questions on that? I did also want to note, since we're bringing up the youth facility and since Kelly, Central Dispatch, talked about the millage, I said that the juvenile justice millage is also up. And I think it's a good chance for the court to get up, and Judge Pollard is here to, and so is Director Jeremy Mulvaney from the youth facility, to talk about the need. And I would just state, first and foremost, we received a $10 million grant from the state of Michigan to expand our facility. So the loss of a millage like that would cause quite the impact.
It would cripple our organization. I guess, hello, I'm Amanda Pollard. I've met most or all of you, and you've heard me talk, I think, a number of times on the importance of what we do here in Eaton County. I can speak, having worked on a number of statewide work groups, that what we provide here in this county is unique. It is a full diversion through detention process here in Eaton County. What the kids need in this county, we're able to provide in-house, which is unique. We're not able to, or we don't have to send young people out of state when they need treatment. We don't have to send people out of the county when they need residential. We don't have to worry about families not being in touch with them when they are going through the services that they need in this county. We have them right here. They're across the street. They are actively involved in every service that you could possibly imagine, and we are able to provide that using county funds through this millage. So I don't know how many of you recall, I believe within the last budget, in lieu of seeking resources and services outside of the county, the juvenile justice millage, those dollars fully fund our operations. And then through a lot of diligent work and contract with the controller's office and frankly, the juvenile division, we are able to, through those efforts, get 75% reimbursement for our work through the state of Michigan for any of the young people that we keep in the community, 50% reimbursement for anyone we have to take out of the community. So we're putting these dollars to work in the best possible way, and we're stretching them as much as we can. Just a brief overview of the things that we're able to provide: substance use disorder services, counseling services, diversion programming, educational services, special education services, day treatment programming, secure and non-secure programming, detention services. Again, all of that is baked into what we ask the county for in our budget. I would just observe that my understanding, the current going rate for sending a young person outside of this county, the daily rate, meaning if I have to place a kid somewhere else, we're talking about at minimum $300 up to $1,200, and that would be each day for every young person. They would not be receiving the quality of service that we provide here in this county, and they would not be receiving it in our neighborhood. So their parents could absolutely not be involved in their treatment programming. I would also identify that not only do we provide some of those more intensive level services, we work diligently to divert a majority of the young people that come through the juvenile justice programming out of the juvenile justice system successfully, so they don't end up with a record. So I would welcome, if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them now. I would strongly advocate on behalf of the court, open and active discussion about this millage. I do believe it is absolutely necessary to the functioning of our community. It keeps our community safe. It also helps our young people rehabilitate, which is our goal and our responsibility. I would also welcome anyone who's not been over to our youth programming. Please come over. We'll give you a tour any day of the week. I also can talk your head off for hours and hours about this, so you just ask me anytime if you have questions. Are there any questions right now with respect to the juvenile justice millage? Anything that I can offer in terms of clarification?
See, Commissioner Haskell.
I have taken the tour. Based off what I saw in all your speech today, I'm obviously 100% sold. My question is, for the current millage we have, when are we funded through with that? Is this like the 911 millage where we have a couple of years, or is this?
It's the same as the 911 millage.
Okay, so 2028 is the funding?
Correct, December 2028.
Anything else?
Any other questions for? Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
so much. We have C.
Community Corrections Advisory Board appointment, and we have Peter Klein here, who is the Community Corrections Coordinator and Special Resource Coordinator.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. At the January 28th meeting, the Eaton County Community Corrections Advisory Board voted to recommend the appointment of Matthew Newberg to serve on the Eaton County Community Corrections Advisory Board, filling the position of Criminal Defense Attorney that was vacant. So my ask is that you have a vote and move that on to the full board.
So moved.
Thank you. Moved and supported. Any discussions? See none. All in favor of this, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on is number 12, miscellaneous.
Do you want to do the OHSP grant? Since you met with Lieutenant Dahlgren?
Good afternoon. So the grant before you is a grant that we had in prior years. It was essentially, this provides funding that we can apply for that reimburses overtime to provide very specific coverage, not in the sense of like setting up and doing like highway coverage or road service where you're kind of watching for seatbelts and speeding and very specific levels of coverage, and it's tied towards providing that around like holidays or specific days and times. So it's a pretty narrow approach to that. Given our footprint of coverage looks different now than it did a year ago, the request before you, we didn't have the opportunity to put it together, so we're going to apply for the funding. If it's awarded, come back with a plan that showcases how this grant will be applied given the footprint of police service coverages as they sit today. So this is just letting you guys know it's coming, but final authorization will be asked of this body as they show how it will work with the contracts that we have.
So we need a motion to approve you go for the grant, apply for the grant.
At this point, we don't really need the motion. There is a provision that we can do that. I mean, you could make the motion, but we still have to bring it back for acceptance, so it's fine to not do that today.
Okay, gotcha. You have a question? Commissioner Haskell.
So actually, maybe I should wait to ask if anyone else has questions pertaining to this, because I think we might need to revisit the child and parent representation grant.
Oh.
I just real quick, we have the policy, right, that we have to override the 15% administration?
So that will have to go to Ways and Means.
Oh, we'll do it there.
Yeah, it has to, because that's the financial
Sure.
part of it. But yes,
Right, that's it.
very smart. I said that to Ben.
I just wanted to make sure we didn't walk out of here, having to do this again next month, so.
No.
All right,
So are you going to apply for this grant, and when it comes back, then we'll figure out where it's going to be divided up and spread?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, thank
The
you.
department will have a presentation of outlining what it will look like once they get it.
Good enough. Super. Next, we have 13, limited public comment. If you have a public comment, would wish to speak. I do not see anyone. We are adjourned.